This story began 2 years ago. Back then, I came across this project online by Timur.ov, a modern take on the design of the LuAZ, a LuAZ from the future. At this point, the project is almost finished and we're releasing episodes as they're edited. In the previous episodes, we bought a donor car, started bringing it back to life, realized we were missing some parts, then bought another donor, completely rebuilt the suspension, the differential, and the brakes, and made the rear steering axle. It's a really fun thing to see for yourself. After the first real test drive, we realized that our engine didn't suit us, so we decided to replace it, which we did in the previous episodes. After swapping the engine, we had to change all the related components and finally assemble the car. And here's today's task. We need to take the entire car apart down to the bare frame, weld the whole body since most of the parts were originally just tacked on and primed and painted from all sides, and of course put it all back together. At the same time, we'll be dealing with all the new issues that come up along the way, and there will be quite a few of them.
That's the situation we're in. The disassembled LuAZ, the whole table is cluttered, the corners, the carts there, parts everywhere. All the attachments are piled up in the corner, and the car itself is almost empty, just a few small things left. Now I'm going to deal with and sort out this part. For example, there are places that need to be welded, clean and paint some parts, pack some things in stretch wrap or put them on the shelf, refine something here and there, replace something elsewhere. So now I'm going to sort through all these piles and heaps and then keep working. About the clutch yesterday, the clutch was making a ringing noise. There's nothing serious here, everything's fine. Most likely it was the release bearing making the noise.
As you can see, the car is completely disassembled, except for the wheels. We've left those on for convenience for now. Well, now there's almost a whole week of work ahead. Boring, uninteresting, monotonous work.
This is what the welded firewall looks like up close, guys. The frame rails there was a lot of detailed work here. I cleaned out the original seams and reinforced everything here. Here I added reinforcement because this is a structural part. I welded everything here, haven't cleaned it all up yet, but most of it is already tidied. I welded up all the unnecessary holes. Here and here I assembled everything, leaving only what we need. I reinforced everything here. I welded it with brackets. I reinforced it here. I welded it from underneath. I'll also be welding this. Nothing has changed on camera, but in reality, there's more than 4 full days of work here. Welding, grinding, trimming, welding on all sorts of little plugs, cleaning things up here and there, all sorts of little details. More than 4 days. Of course, you can see any of this on camera, but in fact, this is how it turned out. I thought I would finish much faster, but it turned out the way it did. Now the plan is to finish disassembling the car. Most likely, I'll remove the entire front suspension, the entire rear suspension, so that the body like we did with the Van Wake can take the body separately for painting, thoroughly clean everything, get to all the spots we couldn't reach before, and then prepare it for painting and paint it. I cleaned everything using all the materials, the whole range of products from the guys at G-Tool. I literally used everything. Flat discs too. Absolutely everything. Everything. Burrs, brushes, and coral wheels as well. Really the entire range from the guys at G-Tool. They sent us a lot of things here, so it's good. What to use. Since LuAZ still implies some off-roading, we decided to take care of the jack in advance. We ordered the jack from the same guys who hired the kit, 4X for SPB. The jack is a river jack, which means that the body needs to be reinforced, so it's best to do this now. While our body is in this state of major modification, before painting, we're finishing all the welding and grinding, and right now is the most appropriate time to do this, so let's unpack it now. I'll figure out how it works, and based on that, I'll reinforce the body where it's needed. Here's this really big guy that we have, and this is kind of how it actually works. I still really need to figure out exactly how it truly works. That's it. We just need to tighten it harder. So now we really need to reinforce the specific spots on the side where this particular jack can safely lift the car. I also ordered some special parts that allow you to lift the car with this jack by attaching it to the wheels. As far as I understand, with these straps, we attach it to the wheel and then we insert the jack right here into this cavity. We still have a lot to learn about all these basics. We need to keep learning. If I pull this now, will it fall? I won't pull it. Now, how do you get it off the jack? Smoothly in the opposite direction. Technology though. All right, now we're gonna reinforce the body.
Yes, even though we don't plan to participate in off-road competitions, a good jack and a winch are still essential for a project like this. We're reinforcing the spot that we might potentially jack up with this beast, and moving on.
These are the kind of blanks I made for our tow hook. It will be welded on like this. In the front, it will be attached to the front mount of our subframe, the front leg of the subframe, and it will go back. Because I felt that this mount alone wasn't enough. It's just a pipe here, 30mm one, and I decided to tie it into the rear leg as well. Here there are already 2 strong bolts to the side member and the side member itself, so I think this will be more than enough. And it will be reinforced with this second bracket from this side.
Well, now all that just left is to properly install this entire thing and weld it thoroughly. That's actually what Collier has been doing for the past week.
Final look of the tow hook. It's welded here, everything is securely welded here. I connected and welded it here. This is a reinforcing bracket so that when we pull with the winch in that direction, it doesn't bend. Now I'll tidy this area up here, and probably when I take it off, maybe I'll weld the proper bushing in here. Now it's time to address the issue with the rear shock absorbers. I picked out a longer shock absorber. This one is a front shock from Niva. But the only thing we don't like about it is the bushing. This one right here, this bushing, there's a silent block here for 10mm, but here I think it's either 14 or 16. So either I install the silent block or temporarily use the ones we had before, because I didn't buy new ones, I just didn't think about it. In terms of height, we have enough travel both for rebound and compression. The shock absorbers travel ends later than the suspension arm reaches the bump stop, and everything is fine upwards as well. So now I'll measure everything again and start welding. Right here is the mounting platform for it.
As I mentioned, new tasks and improvements coming up along the way, things that were once put off until tomorrow. And now that tomorrow has come, we have to reinvent the rear shock absorber mounts, since we now have a different axle installed, and the rear wheels also turn. Accordingly, the factory original solution no longer works for us, and after just half a day, we have this custom solution.
This is precisely what the newly installed shock absorbers look like, anticipating the comments that will inevitably say the front shock absorbers are too stiff for the rear suspension. Please keep in mind that we're gonna have a winch, a battery, and a fuel tank back here. Plus, the car will be loaded on the roof. We'll have cargo, let's just say. When everything is loaded up here, these shock absorbers will be just right. That's because the weight here would be no less than in the front, no less than what the engine weighs. That's why I think the calculation for these shock absorbers is exactly what we need in this setup. If after we load up the car with everything we're going to put in it, it sags too low, we'll just lift it back to this position a bit using the torsion bars. Alright guys, it's time to unpack the package that's been lying around here for a long time. This particular package directly and significantly affects the car's overall appearance, its fundamental concept, and in my considered opinion, the entire perception of the car as a whole. That's right. And I'm unpacking it now at the time when we've almost finished welding the body because we need mounts on the roof for this thing. And to weld them properly and correctly, I think it's logical to unpack it now and test fit it. What we have here is a rooftop tent, a foldable camping tent for the roof. I'll unpack it a bit now and show you the full contents. I probably shouldn't unpack it completely just yet. It'll get dirty here pretty quickly. My goal right now is to measure it and figure out how it opens. I've seen everything in the pictures, but I need to check it out in person, see how it opens and measure it. The installation size, so I can weld a crossbar for it on the roof of the LuAZ because there isn't a single crossbar there at all. And once we've secured it to the roof, we'll probably open it.
We decided to introduce this innovation into the project right in the middle of the build. That's why the renders we show at the beginning of the episode don't quite match reality. In the end, we coordinated the changes with Timur, the project's author, and the final appearance will, to put it mildly, not be what you expect.
This is what the tent looks like when we've installed it on the car. I haven't screwed it in yet. Right now it's just lying here under its own weight. It's propped up by the leather, so when I was unfolding it, it moved a little. It's a bit cramped for us to unfold it here. We're bumping into the lamps, and over here we're already hitting the toolboxes. So I've unfolded it, and this is how it looks. Why did I do all this? I was fitting the mount on the roof and checking how we'll attach it in the future, because according to the manufacturer's recommendations, it should be mounted on factory roof rails, or if not factory, then on roof rails with crossbars, using aluminum spacers and some kind of clamps. We won't have that. We won't have a gap. And besides, it will also be inside some kind of case. That is, there will be a case for it that will fit into our design. The design of our car. So, well, the tests are done. In other words, the size is fine, everything is fine. I think we can fold it up and take it off. I'll weld these plates, the crossbars. And in the future, when we make the roof, we'll come up with a mounting system for it.
So installing the tent is the final element, after which the frame can be considered complete. We welded the necessary braces, and now we can move on to the next stage. But before that, we do a final check of all the elements: the hood, the doors and the trunk. And we give it a green check mark.
And more good news, the engine has come back to us from LuAZ. I won't go into detail about what LuAZ did with it. All of that will be on his channel in his video. We'll attach links to his social media and to that video somewhere in the description. The only thing I will confidently say is that the engine is now in proper working order, and I'm absolutely confident that it will not leak, seep or spew out any fluids whatsoever. And it also looks much nicer than it did before, and that's a significant improvement. If you're interested, I recommend checking out LuAZ's channel. He explained everything there in detail, I hope, described, clarified, and made it clear what he did with this engine for us. And now, wow, just look at this beauty we've got.
And that's another really big green check mark. Huge thanks to Alexey, truly did an excellent job and created some very informative and useful content. Be sure to watch that video, I'll leave a link in the description. And in general, if you enjoy this kind of content, make sure to subscribe to his channel.
One of the last things we need to do before painting is to install the locks on the doors, the trunks, the hood and the weather stripping. All around the perimeter of these parts. The fact that our body is kind of like it's into D-thin and completely straight makes installing all the locks more complicated for us. And all the seals, all the locks. Let me explain what I mean. In a car, all the locks are hidden inside the doors and you can't see them anywhere in the gaps. For us to do something like that, we'll have to cut into the tubes and come up with various technical solutions. Here I made a mock-up. The rubber is from a Jiguli, a strip 40x2 and a tube 20x10. And all of this will work, the door will latch and be sealed by this rubber. And here in the gap you won't see any lock or anything else. The only downside is this protruding piece right here, but I think we'll tidy it up somehow, put a red heat shrink tube on it, and basically it's in a spot you won't reach when you're getting into the car. This is how the edge of the door will look, and it will all latch and seal with this rubber right here.
I think Ollie explained the theory more than thoroughly and got started on the practical part. To install the sealing rubber, we bought this specific kind of strip, which we first thoroughly clean and then carefully prime. And then we start tidying up the door frame with it, ensuring a precise fit.
I've prepared the frame for the rubber. This is how it looks. This is our tube and strip. It's primed on that side. Actually, it's already primed on both sides. I mix them up. That's it. And the strip goes all the way around the perimeter. For now, I fixed it with electric rivets. And then most likely I tacked it down along the outer edge as well. Now I want to try fitting the rubber to see how it all works. It opens and closes. I'm done with this door now. I put these plates on with rivets and installed the rubber seal, put it on. There you go. And I even roughly installed the lock. Everything opens and closes. That is precisely how it truly and completely looks, indeed. Physically, nothing has really changed, but it took a whole day of work.
And now we're doing a similar job with the rear trunk lid.
And I finally finished with the rear opening. I installed locks, one on the upper door and two on the lower door. So what's the sequence? You always open the upper one first, say to grab something. Like in most crossovers, I think that's how it usually works. First the glass, then the lower part, and then the lower door opens. And on the lower door, I changed the opening. This opening here, so that there would be one large surface, because our concept for the rear part changed a bit. So that's precisely why it's like this. That's it. Now, I truly think the car is absolutely ready to be taken apart, even further to completely remove the differential, the drive shaft, all of the suspension components, down to the bare body, in order to thoroughly clean, prime, and paint it.
But before we start cleaning, we have a long-awaited unboxing. We've been dreaming about this thing for the past year. And finally it happened.
Modern technology has finally reached our village. Seriously though, now we have a new assistant in the workshop, a laser welder. Specifically, this is a 5-in-1 machine. Welding operations, thorough cleaning processes, precise seam finishing, efficient battery welding and accurate cutting procedures. The 3 modes I'm most interested in are these. That's laser welding, of course, and cutting, because it can really make things a lot easier for me and reduce the amount of work I have to do with the angle grinder. Noisy, dusty, dirty work with the angle grinder. And cleaning. I'm also curious to try cleaning off paint and rust. Let's see how that turns out. I've never used a device like this before, so now we're going to study it, watch, try it out, and experiment on different and interesting things. We're going to try everything that's interesting.
And right here, without wasting any time, Kolya is testing out our new toy. In the near future, as soon as we get some real experience with this machine and get the hang of it, we'll make a full review. So be sure to write in the comments what you want us to focus on and explain in detail.
Set up the GoPro. I set it up, but I forgot to turn it on, so I'll explain what happened. While the body was in this position, we finished cleaning everything, degreased it, and I primed it all with epoxy. I primed it heavily with a thick layer, so now we'll wait for it all to dry, flip it over, and then I'll start priming the top side. The body is completely painted, primed with epoxy primer. The frame underneath, all the insides, absolutely everything, the firewall on both sides, the entire body is primed. The very next step, now I will patiently wait for all of this to thoroughly dry. Then we will carefully turn the car on its side again and meticulously coat the entire frame and the firewall, both extensively inside and out with Raptor.
And while the main body is drying, we are not wasting any time and are priming the removable parts.
Instead of Raptor, we chose this alternative, a sealant and a body protection product. We're spraying it on, so now I'm carefully preparing everything, turning the car completely over, and we'll be painting and treating all the undersides.
And now, after 2 days, comes one of the most satisfying stages of the work. We bring out the primed and painted body. The main piece of the puzzle, which is a pleasure to look at. But for the puzzle to come together into a complete picture, it will take more than just 1 day. Spending time on treating and painting all the other parts. And finally, moment of truth, when all parts, assemblies, components are cleaned, painted, dried, ready for installation. That's exactly what Kolya started doing.
finished assembling the rear part of the car. Now it's time to move on to the front. We're installing the engine and the gearbox. Once again, I prepared and assembled the whole set. I bought reinforced, hardened, bolt-strong ones for the clutch. I picked out all the bolts with the right pitch and threads and chased all the threads. And most importantly, the most interesting thing we'll have in the front is our new gearbox. I think many of you remember our problem that we couldn't find to either buy a good used gearbox or find someone who could assemble one for us. And here's the solution to our problem right on a classifieds website. We found a person who specializes in assembling and upgrading gearboxes. Gearboxes from LuAZ. So in this new gearbox of ours, our front differential lock has been added. I've already partially assembled this gearbox and modified it to suit our needs. Here I widened the hole and reamed it out for mounting the starter, for the starter seating. I've already installed the slave cylinder and fitted the release bearing. With the sleeve it will slide on, so it doesn't wobble. Now it doesn't wobble at all, it sits perfectly, everything is centered. But what concerns me is that now the release bearing has a very short working travel. I don't know if that travel will be enough for us. We'll find out when we assemble the engine with the gearbox.
Yes, we're really not 100% sure about this gearbox and the setup, since this is all somewhat experimental. The only thing we're 100% sure about is that the engine is perfectly assembled and serviced. We won't have to come back to it for a very long time. Once again, huge thanks to Alexi for that.
The assembly of the car is in full swing. We've installed the engine and the gearbox. Of course, not without a few nuances. We decided to install the engine together with the gearbox as a unit. That turned out to be not very convenient, but now we'll know for next time. And the nuances are that we scratched the paint somewhere. That can be fixed. And after installing the engine and gearbox, I found this on the workbench. This crucial part effectively connects the robust gearbox directly to our primary drive shaft. In other words, thanks to this part, the torque is transferred from the gearbox to the drive shaft in the rear. So now we have to remove the gearbox. Second, before continuing to hook up the engine, I decided to check the system I'm most unsure about. This time I'm concerned about the clutch because we changed a lot of things there. And I wasn't really sure it would work properly. So I've now partially assembled the clutch and it doesn't work at all. The pedal, it's very stiff, it's really hard to press down, and it feels like it's hitting something solid. So now I'll have to completely remove the engine and the gearbox once again to properly sort out the entire clutch operation and meticulously install the remaining parts I unfortunately left on the workbench. Alright, I've finished all the modifications inside the gearbox. I adjusted these tabs to increase the travel. The clearance is more than sufficient. Additionally, I put the original clutch cylinder back in. Let's try it with that. Maybe with it things will be a bit easier and behave more reasonably. And for now, while I've rebuilt it, it's the one we had for testing. If everything works with it, then we'll order one. A new one, we'll look for it. I guess it's worth explaining a bit. The car is being assembled, everything is coming together and being installed. Not without problems, but everything is being assembled. The engine, steering, gearbox, drive shaft all installed. Everything is put together. We sorted out the clutch. The clutch now works properly. I installed the original clutch slave cylinder and everything started working. The pedal became reasonably soft. Because before it was really stiff, hard and impossible to press. Of course, we spent time adjusting the clutch engagement point. It had to be set precisely for it to work, so everything is ready on our end. Fluids filled, brake check, clutch check, power steering check, everything in place. Now we're waiting for Lesha. He'll start the engine, because after he took it apart and put it back together, he didn't adjust the pump or anything. I didn't get involved, I don't know how. A specialist will come, start the car and set everything up. The car is assembled and technically ready to go. I'm thinking about taking it outside now, driving around the nearby area and checking how all the mechanisms work. I've filled the gearbox, the differential and the drive shaft with oil. The engine already had oil in it. All the fluids are filled. Everything is topped up. The power steering, brakes and clutch are all adjusted. So it seems like there's nothing stopping us from going outside and taking it for a drive, just to see how the car behaves. We drove around the surrounding area. There's not much mud here. It's dry and cold right now. We drove around and tested the car. There wasn't much to film. I was just driving back and forth, doing donuts. Nothing particularly interesting. But this outing was meant to check how everything works together. Everything is assembled, everything works. We sorted out the clutch. Now everything is fine with it. Everything works properly. Everything clicks on shifts. All the gears engage smoothly. The power steering works properly. The cooling system works properly. Even though the fan isn't connected yet, we drove around for an hour and the engine didn't even heat up. The thermostat didn't even open. It's cool outside, the lower hose is cold, the thermostat didn't even open. Basically all the systems are working properly. And the suspension, since we replaced the shock absorbers, changed the mounting points in the back, and the shock absorbers themselves, everything is working properly. So there's still a lot of work left to do on the car, but now this work will move forward. We need to get all the wiring in place, add all sorts of sensors and everything else, everything. And of course the bodywork. So I think we can already start working on the exterior of the car.